Director, is it safe to say that actually technology-wise kaya nating hanapan ng solusyon lahat to? Ang balakid talaga at this point is really
Batas.
yung batas.
Yung batas.
Oo naman, sir. Technologically speaking, there are a lot of solutions that are available. Except that uh, for some reason we're not really adopting a more aggressive approach towards modernizing everything. No? Despite the pressure of the pandemic, which I personally thought would be the impetus for wide reach changes, what we're looking at is incremental changes, no? So paunti-unti. So parang ganyan, no? And so that's what we're gonna
Kasi
be.
nga halimbawa diyan yung physical presence mo no sa ano. I know a lot of people are now saying kakabukas ko lang ng bank account ng isang araw, nasa kama lang ako, kinunang ko lang yung passport ko, tinawagan ako ng branch manager, pwede bang mag-Viber lang tayo para nakita kita. That was their KYC. And tapos na. And I'm sure a lot of people are saying, why can't it be that simple for us as well?
That's right. And in fact, like I said, no, when we started talking about this as early as middle of last year, that was the hope. The hope was that because this is so critical and so important that we would be more audacious, I guess is the word, in adopting new technologies because like you said, no, in your example, you literally can deposit a check with a picture on your phone.
Right.
Director, you've been trying to regulate campaign finance, no? Mukhang mas magiging challenging to considering the circumstances. Saka yung technology ngayon, advances in technology. Are you thinking of new measures to tighten regulation? Is there any effort?
Well, there are discussions about it, ma'am, but there are a lot of new measures that I think need a lot more law for us to be able to really move against, no? Just off the top of my head, the simple act of sending money through your phone, that is very hard to police. I mean, I for one don't know how we can police that. I don't know that anyone is able to police that. Ang problema po kasi, when we talk about these things, these are changes, these are innovations that should not only apply to elections. These are changes that should apply to the whole range of e-government. Unfortunately, we ignore it, and then pagdating ng eleksyon, pipilitin natin na Comelec, gawin nyo na yan, ba't wala kayong ginagawa?
Sir, linawin ko lang yan. When you say we ignore it, is that premised on our assumption that you're already having this conversation with not only government regulators, not only with but even let's say with private fintech Alliance of the Philippines, for example? Are you having this conversation with both the public and private sector?
Well, sir, there's really no conversation to have with fintech because Comelec is not even mandated or empowered to look into that. So wala talaga eh. Wala kaming anchor eh. Just like social media.
Okay, so sa public lang, have you had that conversation? When you say na hindi pinapansin eh, but have you had that conversation, let's say with Congress, whoever you need to talk to enable what you want to happen?
Oh yes, sir. And I was gonna say, since 2013, we've been asking for laws to regulate social media.
Yun nga, I was going to ask you, how will you implement campaign rules under the Omnibus Election Code?
Right.
Social media, which will probably be overused, in the coming elections, given that mass gatherings will be so limited, right?
That's right.
Paano monitoring yan? Paano ba?
Wala po. We're making things up out of whole cloth because there is no law to govern it. In the last elections, for example, if we did not expand the meaning of broadcast media to include social media, we would not be able to effectively regulate social media in any way. But try to find a law that says that social media is part of broadcast media and you won't find anything because it doesn't exist. Because it was an attempt to regulate in the absence of any law governing it. We were hoping that it would cause a greater stir then at least it would be talked about. But it's not being
Right.
talked about. So that's the problem. And now, here's the thing though. The pandemic has accelerated everyone's timetable supposedly. Diba? Because even if you say that these changes are large and paradigm shifting, so obviously you're going to need a longer time to do it, it's become irrelevant because pandemya na eh. And you need these solutions now. And you're looking at private sector, you're looking at private enterprise, and they're doing it, but we're not doing it. And so that's a little frustrating. And it is doubly
sir.
frustrating because everyone looks to Comelec and expects Comelec to pull the solutions out of thin air and to criticize and then criticizing Comelec for not being able to do it.
Yes, sir. Sir.
Ano bang pagkakadisenyo ng Comelec na pati yan kaya namin gawin? No? So we're doing
Well, sir, yes, sir. Sir, you are citing the need for a law, but it has to start somewhere. Do you have already a champion in Congress, for example? Do you have somebody you're talking to in Congress with regard to the need to put the new or better laws in place, especially for 2022, with the pandemic in mind?
Well, I would like to think that there are enough committees in Congress that are supposed to be looking at electoral reforms, that they are supposed to be looking at suffrage laws. And we did tell them. We do tell them. We do tell them. And in fact, the last time we mentioned it, it was in the Senate, and it was at the confirmation hearing of one of our commissioners. So they know the fact. They know this. They know this problem.
I hate to say this, but is it possible that the status quo will work for them more in the coming elections than if they actually pushed for reforms, in the line of what we want to happen, technological?
I'm sorry, the signal cut out.
Is it possible? Yeah, is it possible? And I know that.
I'm joking.
Okay, I get the joke. Sorry for being slow.
That's why you will never get your laws, no?
You will never
They
get
don't.
it.
They don't want. They don't want social
Forward
media
for them.
regulated. They don't want all of these platforms regulated. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
nawala
Especially
na-
campaign finance.
Di na naman tayo naririnig ni Director Jimenez.
The more
Nakamute yata.
opaque.
Nakamute po kayo. Nakamute. Nakamute kayo.
The more opaque, the better for all the candidates. Yan ang problema. But are you
Pero sir,
working
in the end
with
kasi
any
you need
particular person?
you need a champion. You need a champion in Congress, di ba? And for anybody to push any law, whether it's a benevolent law or whatever law of interest to any group, you would still want to pick a champion who will raise your banner in Congress.
But-
I mean, it's hard to rely on the committees to just conjure these things out of thin air.
Well, we are open to cooperating with Congress every time, sir. I mean, there are some pending laws, but unfortunately, none for these things that really matter.